Hello, so I'm going to be teaching you my method on adding clothing to your avatars in VRChat. There are different methods that a lot of people use. This is what I do to my avatars. You don't have to do it my way, but if you do, then watch the video. If you've seen my head swapping video, I'll leave a link down below, or if I'm posting this to like a Discord, you will see it pretty much in the feed. Pretty much it will show you my way of adding a head. That's pretty much how I used to add clothing as well, though it doesn't count if you have jiggle physics. So if your character has jiggle physics, the weight painting on the shirt won't match pretty much if you want to add like jiggle physics to your avatar in Unity. So this method is basically how you're able to add that jiggle physics to those clothings that you've picked if you want it in VRChat. So what I start out is basically I'll have my model. So this is really not great textured right now. I will do a video on how I texture my avatars pretty much. This is just going to be an example of how I just add clothing to my avatar. So basically my model, if I show my bones again, it's Alt H to show my bones. H is to hide the bones. So I want to Alt H. So my base basically has jiggle physics on the butt, the thighs, the stomach, and then the boobs as well. I'm just going to add one piece of clothing. It works for pretty much any type of clothing that you want. The only thing that you have to make sure to do not do is basically delete the mesh underneath after you add the clothing, just because what if you want to add something else on top of it, like another jacket, or if you want to add like an underneath shirt and then a jacket over it. It's good to have the base because this method is required to have a base mesh underneath your avatar. So for me, I'm going to import a model that I found on DeviantArt. I'm gonna just import this in. I don't like the color of it, but we can change it up. Make sure you guys fix your models as well. Usually fixing models help a lot. What I like to do when working with something like this, if the mesh is too big, you can scale it down if you want. For me, scaling down fits perfectly fine with me. I am going to basically do what I can to put this on my model. It is not that hard. You just S to scale it down, blah blah blah. What I also like to do is pretty much do the same method with adding clothing. So this is fine right now. For right now, it's fine. I can pretty much merge my meshes if I want to as well. Another method is if I Control Z, Control Z, or even if I just delete this armature, it's gonna go back to where I want it to go to. But all I need is this mesh. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go make sure the mesh is selected, and then I'm going to scroll it down. Not scroll it down. What am I talking about? I'm going to scale it down. It's very tedious work, especially with like a model like my thickness of a model for VRChat. But it's pretty much fine. What else I like to do is when I want to fit this on a model that I'm just like, oh yeah, I know that, you know, it's not going to look as great. Like the boobs are sticking out, the butt sticking out, some of the parts of the arm is pretty much sticking out. What I like to do is I like to go to Sculpt Mode. And a really cool trick with 2.8 is if you grab this and just bring it out, pretty much, you can see the words. So I like that because I'm not great with pictures very much. I just like to see the words. So what I want to do is I want to grab the grab brush. If you press F, you're able to scale the brush. Brush sizes for something like this is actually necessary. Some people will like start with like a really small brush and start like going like this. Don't do that. Especially but you can do that if it's like just a small clipping. But usually what I like to do is I like to grab like something like this size and go in here and be like press 5 on my keyboard and then 1 to go into front ortho view. I just realized I need a little bit bigger brush. And I would go in here and just pretty much grab this and sculpt it on my model. I want this to pretty much be like one of those big sweatshirts. So I can just pretty much do that and just sculpt it on. You can do it like that as well. I'm not doing a great job just because this is a video. I take my time with some of my avatars, but I will try my best adding this in. I'm still pretty much a decent with 2.8. Not as much, but for the boobs, it can be difficult. So what I like to do, also another thing I like to do is I like to go and grab these bones and just hide them when sculpting as well, just because it's easier on my eyes to actually understand what I'm doing. Go back to sculpt mode and then continue. Oops. I grabbed the wrong mesh. Also, make sure you grab the right mesh when working on your avatars, even when doing this as well. Sometimes I'll grab the wrong mesh and yeah. That should be fine. I can fix it up later. But like there's some tedious stuff, like something like this can be like very tedious. Oh, for the arms, sculpting using the sculpt tool to just sculpt on your avatar can be very tedious as well. Just because having a bigger brush can pretty much be for you, you know, because you have to keep on doing this and pretty much. Yeah, and also the boobs can be difficult as well. If you pretty much, you just grab them and we'll in like that. Yeah, it looks all pointy. Don't worry about that, just because you can probably fix it up pretty much. I'll probably put a time lapse, me just fitting this onto my model real fast, and I will see you back when I'm done. Alright, so I just fitted this onto my avatar. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. Basically, what else you're gonna do is basically go into this tab right here. But first, what we want to do is open this up. Let's go to object mode, unhide that, pretty much open this up, and then what we want to do is we want to grab this mesh, and then shift click the other mesh, and then Control J to combine them together. And then we don't want this to be body 001. We want this to be body, regular just body, because with adding it to VRChat, pretty much it'll just really not read it as body, to be honest, when you're trying to export it. The next thing is what you want to do is basically separate your materials. This is tedious. Basically, find where your sweater mesh is. So this is your sweater. So name this sweater or whatever mesh it is. And then a good way of doing it is also translating it all as well. So we have our body and our sweater. And what we want to do is we want to transfer weights. So what that means is basically if we click on our body and then go to weight paint, and then let's just like hide the sweater right here. Let's hide the sweater. So if I click on one of these bones, it's not letting me click on one of the bones. Let's go to start pose mode, then click on one of the bones, and then click on the base. I've never used 2.8, so this is new to me. Oops. Well, it's not what I want to do. Okay. Well, that is great. But it's, let's see, shit. Okay. There's gonna be a lot of ums in my video. I'm doing a kind of blind 2.8 demo for myself because I usually do this in 2.79b. Okay, so basically what it means, I was going to show you guys why we want to translate like this like body mesh to this is because there's like a gradient on like certain bone and it makes it pretty much I can probably show you by starting the pose mode and then grabbing this and go G, and then it basically kind of jiggles a little bit because we have jiggle physics. If I grab that and go G, see it's grabbing that boob and all this other stuff. What do we want to do is for this is going to be if I press H and then pretty much select our sweater, we want to go in here and go to this triangle like icon right here on 2.8, and we want to just get rid of all these. We don't want all these. We don't need all these. You don't need all of them. It's going to take a while to actually get rid of them, depending on how many bone structures your model pretty much has. Yeah, there we go. And then, so pretty much what I did was basically took every vertex group out of this sweater. So it pretty much, if I go to pose mode, go and press R to rotate, it's not following my hand at all. And it's definitely not following the, oops, it's definitely not following the boobs at all, or even the thighs. Not even the stomach. What we want to do is make sure you stop pose mode and then go in here and then go to your sweater again and then click on this wrench right here, and then add a modifier, add a data transfer. I use this for all my avatars with jiggle physics or with special weight painting stuff. What this does, it basically transfers the weight paint from this mesh to this. So what I'm going to do is basically grab my source object, and that is going to be my body. I'm going to select my data, vertex data, and click on vertex group. And then after I'm done, see how there's nothing in this vertex group. So what I want to do is I want to generate it from the body to my sweater. And after I did that, now I have everything, all my vertex groups back onto this sweater. And then the last part you need to do is make sure you apply it to your sweater as well. And then you're done. And the next thing you want to do, I think you can do it when everything is separated. I'm just going to join them because I feel comfortable just joining them together. And then fix my model just in case something messed up or anything. Start pose mode and pretty much go R to rotate, and it basically now follows my body. There are some weight painting issues pretty much with the sweater, but that's kind of an easy fix. It doesn't do a really great job with weight painting. Oh, it does really good with weight painting transfers. There are some stuff that you need to fix when weight painting when doing this method, just because it doesn't do everything perfectly. Now I have jiggle physics on the sweater now. So now I'm able to go like this. It follows the sweater, or even right here, it follows a little bit on there, and then also with this part as well, and then the stomach as well. After you're pretty much done with this done adding the data transfers and everything onto your model, and it's okay to just delete some parts of your model as well underneath, like the base model, but do that after you're done adding stuff to your model, because if you do the data transfer again after deleting something underneath it, it won't transfer any weights from the model. So that is my fair warning of doing this method and then like deleting stuff underneath before adding some more stuff onto it. And yeah, that's pretty much how I add stuff to my avatars, like clothing. Shoes in general, I would do the custom model creation and just add it like that, just because it works pretty well. There are small stuff you need to do when adding shoes. I might make a video on that as well. But yeah, that's all I do when wanting to add clothing to a lot of my avatars.